Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of The Next Idea. I'm your host, Sania Zehra. I'm also the content strategist at Thoughts Crystal. Since we're here with the very first episode of The Next Idea, it's best that I let you all know what the next idea is going to be about. This podcast session will be an interactive session that we'll be having with our guests that are the most influential people around us who will be coming here and sharing their very valuable perspective with us on different topics that will be based on the Depth series. The Depth series is basically an acronym for Disruption, Entertainment, Planet, Technology, and Healthcare. For our today's topic, we'll be talking about the metaverse and 5G. I believe that these topics have quickly become the talk of the town, and these are the two terms that we have been hearing a lot these days. So it's best that we discuss these today. For our guest, we have Dr. Bilal Rasool. He's from Lahore, Pakistan, and is a seasoned professional who has an extensive experience in the telecommunications system. Welcome to the podcast, sir.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you here. Just to let you know, this podcast session isn't going to be an interview, but rather a conversation where I'll be having questions that I myself am very curious about related to the topic, of course. So, shall we begin?
Sure. And thank you for
Right,
having me.
sir. Being a communication student myself, I keep hearing these terms, the metaverse, the evolution of 5G from 4G to 5G. I'm really curious what these terms actually are. How would you explain these terms to me?
Right. So there are two aspects to it. So one is the technology. So as you mentioned, 5G is one term. So obviously before 5 comes the 4G, the 3G, and what preceded it. And after 5G is something that we are talking about, which is 6G, obviously. So these are simply the generations of the technology, and specifically on the mobile side, on the wireless side. So where the first generation of mobile telephony per se was more analog, it had very much limitations in terms of how you would make use of your devices. So in an analog manner, it was rather inefficient. You could not send data. It would be just a basic call. It would in fact not even hand over per se. So you would make a call and you would drop at a certain stage. You would just not be able to carry on with the call. 2G introduces certain digital aspects. So it from analog we shift to digital. So that means we're talking in terms of ones and zeros. And here the focus is still voice, but there is capability to do some basic internet kind of activities. So you would see Edge or E on your handset and you'd figure out, I'm on a 2G data connection rather than a 2G voice. Then comes 3G, and now we're talking of higher speed. So it could go up to 2 megabits per second. So what we now in today's world perhaps look at 2 Mbps as not even good enough. For 3G, 2 was somewhere around the maximum when it was introduced. Then enhancements came to 3G, and then there were certain um, frequency addition, so you could make more use of these frequencies to make more use of 3G. 4G became more of a paradigm shift in terms of where 3G was still a person-to-person communication. So I would do a data interaction largely between people. 4G enabled a lot of platforms. So social media platforms. So Twitter became something. So you could interact, you could send something. Facebook became something of value. So it enabled a lot of social applications, interactions over the internet by use of 4G. So now the question becomes that what does 4G do that it enables this? So it obviously offers you a better pipe to download data, to upload data. We're not talking of 2 Mbps anymore. We're talking now in hundreds of megabits per second, depending how many network resources you have. But the technology at least allowed for it to go up to those speeds. And when we go on to 5G, so where the internet is perhaps two-dimensional, then 5G comes in and becomes more three-dimensional. So you start looking at virtual things. You can imagine a 3D picture. You can even go into sensory aspects. So you can feel a touch as well. So if you can have a glove with sensors, you can also get a feel of what you're touching on this side or the other side. So uh, to say 5G then starts to interact, starts to get starts to create a virtual environment where you can do certain things. So in doing so, you need big pipes. So when we talk of, and I jump ahead, when we talk of autonomous vehicles, for example, or when we talk of self-driven cars or something that can be virtually responsive to you as well and virtually visible, then you need not only speed because you're not looking at a picture. So if I was to send a picture, it would have, a very little size. But if I'm talking of a video content, it has a high size and therefore requires a bigger pipe. When I look at now a 3D picture, so it's immersive, submerged per se, then we're talking a lot of data being transmitted. And if you're talking of an autonomous aspect, so you're driving a car or you're letting a machine drive a car, you want it to respond very quickly. So now we have what we call latencies so that the networks can give you back information very quickly. So to go back to the question, the generations of the technology is what we call the 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. So in almost all countries, 4G is somewhat deployed. 5G is something that has started to pick across the globe where the requirement has started to come. So where there is a need, it obviously comes. If my need is only to send a picture, I don't need a 5G connection. So globally, where this has become a requirement, 5G has started to come in. Pakistan, for example, is reported to go on to 5G by 2023. At least that's the ministry's vision on it, which would then enable certain more use cases, how you would use technology